All right, perfect. All right, welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting for Tuesday, January 1st, 2021. Our meeting should be pretty compact tonight in the fact that our only scheduled items are the Tewksbury Diversity, Equality, and Inclusion Advisory Committee interviews. So typically we do these interviews in person. However, as of last week, we've been doing virtual meetings here throughout the pandemic, but we're going to talk about that after under new business, how we resume meetings back to town hall. I'm looking forward to that. So these discussions, just to outline for the applicants here, I want this to be very, very very easy interview. You all are volunteering for a particular committee, and I'm sharing that. I do believe I'm sharing my screen as far as what outlines the committee. So I want it to be very easy, very simple interviews. We're not here to trick you. We know you're volunteering. We're very excited. Ms. Wellman, keep me honest, but I do believe, what's the number of applicants that we have?
16, Mr. Chairman.
16, so that's really, really impressive. I'm not too sure we had 16 applicants for any of our recent boards and committees, so that's so that is exciting. So again, I want this to be pressure-free zone. We typically ask a series of 3 questions. Again, we're not here to trick you. We know you're volunteering, so we're excited. And what we'll do, just for kind of lay out the housekeeping rules, is we'll conduct the interviews, I believe, tonight. We're looking forward to, I believe we have 7 interviews tonight. I could be mistaken. Is that about right? 1, 2.
I got 10.
10. Cool. Yeah, we have 10 interviews, so we're going to do the additional 6, I believe, on June 8th. And then what we'll do as a board is we'll just deliberate. We talk about the pros and the cons, and then we'll just essentially nominate folks for this committee. So does that make sense? Again, I want it to be very open, very honest. We don't bite, so hopefully we'll have some good dialogue. Now, the interviews take anywhere between 3 to 10 minutes. Some folks like to elaborate on some questions, and some folks we understand might have their answers might be short and sweet, and that's fine too. So, so I want to thank you. At first, we have already received all the applicants. We already received the what do we call those? The application sheets. So that was and most of you fill in those are very thorough. So this is kind of like the second part of it. So without further ado, I think we can jump right in. And 6 o'clock is I believe it's Nicole. Is Nicole here?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, Nicole. All right. I don't know how we want to start. Like I said, what we can start. Yes, Mr. Stronach.
Just because it's a virtual meeting, do we have to open and do a roll call, or do we still have to do that?
Yeah, we still have to do, because of the virtual meeting, we don't have to vote right now, but I guess for housekeeping, all we have to, Todd Johnson may or may not join, I guess just for housekeeping for the record, that's independent. But Ms. Stronach, I think we're good to go. It's, we're going to conduct the interviews. Then we have open, just the residence section, and then we're going to take care of a little bit business under new business. So that's the agenda.
Thank you so much.
Sound good? All right, why don't we jump in with Nicole? So, in no random order, like I said, typically we're going to ask 3 questions, so it can come from any one of us. So why don't we start, I guess, with Miss Wellman?
Well, Mr. Chairman, did you want to explain the 3 questions that we typically ask for all the folks? I mean, it's... Yeah,
absolutely. And because it's interesting, too, because this is a virtual meeting, we need to have everyone on the virtual meeting. And even when we do it within the town hall, we have all the folks within the room. So I know some people say, well, it's not fair if I go first or I go last. We did pick them, believe it or not, out of random order. So, so the 3 questions are simple. Number 1 is, do you know about open meeting laws? They're very important for any board or committee. We always have to have a quorum when we discuss business. That's why whenever we have an open meeting, we post an agenda and stick to the agenda. So when we'll talk about that more, talking on Facebook and socializing on social media platforms, indicating which way you may or may not vote or which issue you may like outside of a open meeting law is detrimental. So we'll talk about, do you know open meeting law? Number two is, what experience and why do you want to be on the committee? And our third question is typically, do you have the time? I think I covered those, right, Ms. Wellman? 1, 2, 3, were those the big hitters?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. So it really doesn't matter who asks the questions. But again, those are the 3 questions. Again, no tricks here. And just looking for honest answers, that's all. So Ms. Wellman, maybe we'll kick it off to Nicole. Kick it off with Nicole.
Yeah, thank you. So Nicole, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and why you'd like to be on this committee?
Sure. So I have lived in Tewksbury since, I think 2009. I have 2 kids in the school district, one at the Trahan, one at the Ryan. I think my interest in the committee is, if I had to boil it down to one sentence, I would say that I think Tewksbury needs to improve on messaging around diversity, inclusion, and equity. When I look back over the past year, I would have hoped for a more robust response in terms of the incident around George Floyd. My kids had a ton of questions. The school district did send out some messaging, but I think it could have been perhaps more forceful, age-appropriate discussions in the school, and I didn't see that happening. I think also for the Tewksbury Police Department, it would have been great to have a community forum or, something along those lines. I think where we're entering Pride Month, there's potential for kind of doing community events around Pride Month, Juneteenth, any number of things that I think we could maybe dovetail this with the events committee, and it would only, serve as not only educational, but also as a way for the community to gather. There could be food trucks, music, so I feel like there's potential for that. As far as my personal background, I have worked in healthcare for about 18 years, 18 or 19 years at this point. As a nurse, I worked at Mass General on HIV clinical trials and worked with a largely LGBTQ population there. Got my master's, and I have been working in primary care as a nurse practitioner for the past 10-ish years. Started out in Lawrence, worked with a large Dominican population, and my most recent job was in the Lowell Tewksbury area with a significant Muslim and Cambodian population. So when I think of the issues that this community could be addressing, I think they're sort of public health adjacent in my mind. And these are things that I have constantly kind of assessed with my patients in terms of social barriers that affect quality of life, well-being in general. So I see this committee as perhaps an extension of advocacy that I've done on a patient level, just on a more kind of community-wide level. In medicine, barriers are so significant that we call them social determinants of health. And the more that a patient has that's considered a barrier, the worse their health outcomes are. So just in terms of quality of life and kind of being able to give back to the community, I feel like that would be something I would be able to contribute kind of with my experience with analyzing public health. I also think in terms of the messaging that I referred to, I think that the messaging that should be coming from the town is similar to messaging that's oftentimes used in public health, where it has to be clear, concise language that's judgment-free. You're aiming to be at about a 6th grade level so that it's accessible to everyone. And I do have experience in that just through the course of my career. And even though I don't fit into a minority bucket myself, I do feel my skill set is probably something that would be beneficial to a committee like this. And it would give me kind of a way to give back to the community that I've decided to raise my kids in and be a little bit more a part of the town.
Great, thank you so much, Nicole.
Okay, very good. How about Ms. Stronach?
So thank you so much. I guess you spoke to the experience. I guess my question would be about the open meeting law. Are you familiar with open meeting law in your experience at all?
I am not, so I would definitely need a primer on that. I haven't served formally on any committee, but open to obviously learning about it.
I think you could manage the learning curve, Nicole.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just for all the applicants, if appointed on this committee, we do have training, very, very easy training, even that everyone goes through, every elected official and every board member and every committee member goes through the open meeting law training. So very easy stuff, but it is thorough. So don't worry about that. How about Mr. Mackey? Final question. I don't know if James is muted or not, but Nicole, I'll go. How about time availability? I don't know how much we'll meet, but typically, volunteering does take some after hours participation. Again, I'm not. Ms. Wellman's going to represent the board, so she'll probably ultimately determine how often the committee meets. But any concerns with working potentially on some evenings?
The two nights that would have the greatest conflict for me would be Monday and Tuesday because of my work schedule, but completely open on Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay, good deal. And like I said, I'm sure Ms. Wellman or whoever the committee chair is, they'll work with all the applicants to find the best time. Sometimes it's not easy. This is going to be a larger committee.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's 9 members with up to 3 on staff. So again, typically the chair will work with the committee to find the best possible date. Sometimes they're, like as an example, the third Thursday of every month, just as an example. So, okay, very good. Okay, good deal. All right, now we always kind of pause. Nicole, any questions? Any questions for our board?
Not really. I have lots of questions, but I think it's probably something that is going to be ironed out. But I assume that there will be some kind of mechanism set up for community feedback to from the residents to get to the committee. I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, that will come through the committee. As the committee's formed, I can absolutely envision, a brainstorming session, when the committee's formed, what areas do you want to tackle? And it seems like you might have a few already, Nicole, which is a good thing, outreach or what have you. So we just kind of like the committee has a blank canvas, and when you finally roll up your sleeves and when the committee is formed, you work through the committee and anything's fair game, to help you and the residents through this. So I'm sure you'll have a lot of, that's all. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
All right, very good. Again, just for housekeeping, Nicole, I think a few folks jumped on. Here's what we're going to do interviews today. We're going to do interviews on the 8th, and then we'll powwow together as a board. And we always say this, I probably should have said this from the get-go. Whether you're on the committee or not, you don't need a title to be on this committee or any committee or board for that matter in town. I probably should have said that initially, but all right, very good. All right, can someone help me with the 6:10 appointment? I just can't see who's next, and I apologize for that.
Mr. Chairman, it's Ms. Georgia Bay Allen.
Bay Allen, okay, Georgia Bay Allen, okay, very good. All right, Ms. Wellman, you want to start with the first question?
Sure. I'll ask a different question, and if you would talk to us about what you know about, if you're aware of open meeting law, and your familiarity with that area.
Okay, so I would like to start off by saying good evening to the Board of Selectmen that are present and to the other candidates that are interviewing this evening. I am not familiar with the open meeting law, but I did read up about it, and I definitely would like to learn more about it. I have attended various meetings and participated in various meetings that have been open to the public, but I was not aware that there was a law associated with open meetings.
Like the chairman said, it's not an issue, and we do train everybody on that matter. So that's just good to know. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, how about Anne Marie?
Thank you very much, and thank you for that information. And I guess what I would ask you to speak to us about is your experience. I'm looking forward to hearing about that.
Okay, sure. So I have lived in Tewksbury for over 26 years. I'm married. I have 2 children. My oldest graduated from TMHS. She was a class of 2020 graduate. My youngest is in 9th grade, and due to the pandemic, she was enrolled in Connections Academy, TECA, where she currently is still a part of TECA. Let's see, I've participated in numerous activities in town. I have actually a list of different things that I've done. So I've served in many different roles, both in the corporate and private sectors. I believe that my vast experience would be beneficial in contributing input in a positive manner. I formerly worked in human resources for Avid Technology. Avid Technology used to be located here in Tewksbury, but have relocated to Burlington, Mass. So while at Avid, I participated in diversity training and initiatives to enhance the work environment. I also worked on the events planning committee at Avid Technology, where we planned corporate activities like Canopy Lake Park Day, holiday parties, Bring Your Child to Work Day, Trick or Treat Day, department decorating contests, which were really popular. There was very competitive people that worked for the company. It was a lot of work, but it was fun. I'm also a former resident of De Palma Estates here in Tewksbury, where I served as a representative on the Homeowners Association. And I did that for a couple of years. And that was a volunteer position as well. So I currently reside on Prospect Hill Drive, and I took initiative to create a neighborhood contact list. I organized neighborhood cleanup days and assisted with organizing block parties so that neighbors could get to know and watch out for each other. And I actually manned that list and updated as residents moved onto our street, and some, choose to relocate. Most recently, a family moved to Maryland. So I keep up with that list, and I'm a former lunch monitor, an aide, and a substitute teacher for Tewksbury Public Schools. I did that for 7 years. I was a preferred teacher or substitute teacher for many teachers that would call and reach out to me when they were in need. I participated in the Citizens Police Academy course that was sponsored by the Tewksbury Police Department. I'm a former vice president of the Tewksbury Music Association for TMHS, and we organize fundraising events to support the music department and to provide scholarships to graduating seniors. I'm a volunteer for TMH All Night Long graduation celebration, which I'm excited will be happening this year. In the fall of 2019, I became a reading tutor for Lowell Public Schools, and while in this role, I learned about various diversity initiatives that could possibly benefit the Tewksbury community as well. So I'd be interested in sharing some of the things that I learned while in that role. I participated in Town Cleanup Day. I'm a former Garden Club member and worked with the Beautification Committee to add colorful presence here in our town with the flowers and all. I'm a Tewksbury Food Pantry supporter as well. And let's see. So I currently assist with the state and town of Tewksbury elections as an election warden for Precinct 4A in the library. I've been part of the election process since 2016. And out of the many roles that I have participated in while living in Tewksbury, I would have to say that this is my favorite. And you may wonder why. I'm a people person. I love working with residents, especially our senior residents, and assisting them. And then just learning what goes on behind the scenes with the election process has been really informative, and I've enjoyed learning about it. Finally, I'm a theater parent, AKA a drama mama. My youngest daughter is in drama, and so I'm a volunteer, and I help out with various roles just to ensure that they have a successful and fun production. And I believe I'll end there.
Thank you so much. That was so informative and very informative in terms of how you're reaching out to the community. So I want to say thank you. You do a lot, so I appreciate that. That's all I have. to say.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I'll ask the final question. And we were partners in the police academy. I can only hope that comes back after that pandemic. That was so fabulous. I tell you, they put together. That was wonderful to be in the police academy with you all. So that was great. How about time? How about availability? Again, sometimes it could be two meetings a month. Sometimes one meeting a month, and that will be determined. But any concerns there?
I don't have any concerns. This summer is going to be pretty busy. My oldest daughter is going to college in person in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So we will be moving her down in August. So my evenings are pretty open and flexible. It's just the summertime that will probably be a little, I'll just have to maneuver around the schedules and all. Do you have, I know it hasn't been determined as far as when the meetings are going to take place, like all that's going to be worked out, but I'm sure we can, I can figure it out.
Yeah, and I can always tell you, for any boards and committees, even a select board, you come July and August, everyone's on vacation. That's our time to have fun. So typically, most committees have one meeting, and we always have the understanding that we'll have a quorum. So if there's 9 members on this board, what's a quorum? 5. Do I have it right? I think 5. So we always anticipate. Is it
3?
Yeah, right.
3's a quorum.
For 9 members?
Oh, I'm sorry, for 9, their committee. Yes, you're right, Mr. Chairman. I thought you said Board of Selectmen.
Oh, no, you're good. Yeah, that's good. That's good. And we always anticipate July, August to be lean months. So for any board or committee, we typically have, like I said, as long as we can make a quorum. So the summer's, it's usually not busy, heavy with meetings. So I don't think that's an issue there. Okay, perfect. Any questions for the board before you conclude?
I don't have any other questions. It was just around the meeting times and all, but like you said, that'll be worked out. So thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. And again, I wish all the other candidates good luck.
Thank you very much. Yeah, please.
Just really briefly, Georgia, you gave us a lot of your background, but briefly, could you tell us what you hope to get out of this committee, or what you want to see happen with the committee a little bit?
Yes. So in my various roles of working in the community, I have seen, especially in the schools, the lack of diversity, and that can be from different programs or even the presence of a diverse staff. So I would like to see some changes there, and also just be able to share my own personal experiences of working in the elementary schools and in administration as well, or volunteering for administration with the elections and all. I feel that I have valuable feedback that I can share from a personal perspective, especially being a person of color as well. And I believe in being outspoken, but in a way that is positive, and that will that we could come together as a team and share ideas and share different things, different experiences that could hopefully improve our community.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you for your time this evening.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Very impressive. All right. Okay. Okay, we're perfectly on schedule. How about, do we have Karen Griffin?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, perfect. Yep.
Great. So I, have been in Tewksbury since 2005. A few years back, my daughter actually moved to Tewksbury. So she has 3 boys, and 2 of the boys are attending school in Tewksbury. I currently work, I'm a senior administrator at UMass Medical School in Worcester, and in my role there, I actually am tasked with serving on different committees as it related to diversity. The chancellor of the school is very interested in, in strategic planning to make people more aware of the issues surrounding diversity, inclusion, and equity. And, I actually just finished completion of Cornell at night, specializing with a graduate certificate in diversity and inclusion. And the reason, I wanted to take that is because I'm hoping to maybe even in Tewksbury schools to actually maybe have a curriculum that covers these topics, because I do feel, it's really not clear living in Tewksbury on what role or how they see, how we can do a better job within the community and make an awareness of this important subject. So, and my son,
Very good.
Sean, he lives in DC. He actually served under President Obama, the first African-American president, and he learned a lot about diversity when he was in that role. So it's just an exciting opportunity. So.
All right, good stuff, good stuff. How about Ms. Stronach?
Thank you so much. I will ask the question about time. How's your time schedule, Karen? Are you able to give the time to this committee?
Yeah, I'm fine. I mean, they call me Nan. I'm a grandmother, but I actually, my kids are all grown, so I do have the time, and I just think it's important to, participate. My dad, we grew up in Everett, Mass, and my dad was very involved in public service. He actually worked closely with the mayor of the town, and he always said to us, you should always give back to your community if you can. And also, I was on the PTA in Everett when my kids were younger, so I like to volunteer and I like to help out, especially as an important topic as this.
Excellent. Thank you.
Very good, very good. How about Ms. Wellman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ms. Griffin. I appreciate your background and your insights. I was interested in your doctorate in higher education and how that dovetails with some of the work that you're doing now with diversity and equity. I think that's really interesting. And I also wanted to ask you if you are aware of the open meeting law.
I did actually do some research on the law. I actually looked it up in the last couple of days just to see, I'm not well versed in it, but I get the, premise of it. My doctorate in higher ed, I actually, my topic was women's barriers and biases in the trajectory to the top. And I interviewed women in academic medicine because I have several years in working in academia. And, it's a very important topic because if you look at the Me Too movement, that actually segued a lot in my thesis. So, and diversity was covered quite frequently in my dissertation, because in some of the questions that I asked the women, they actually in rising to the top had several areas of barriers and reaching, they never quite got to the senior level of the organization. Now it's a turning point. So there's more women, actually having the capability to get into leadership. So that was what my thesis was on.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Okay, I think Ms. Wellman just covered the open meeting laws. And again, Karen, like you said, probably we're going to repeat ourselves because of the same three questions, but I can tell you the open meeting laws are very important. And for typical, when typically residents get on committees, that's one of the first things you'll find out quickly. And I'll just tell this committee, we tell every board and committee, even for our committee, you always have to be very careful about Facebook and what have you, when on any committee in any town or city nowadays. So that's all. So again, we have easy peasy training to go through, so that won't. I'm sure anyone can get caught up to speed very quickly on the open meeting law. So with that, Karen, any questions for the board about this committee or otherwise?
I'm just curious, when the committee is formed, will they do some outreach in the community to see, what people would like to see from this committee, or that's just going to be talked about whenever this committee forms?
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Please.
We've had a kind of a version of this question from pretty much everybody. outreach and engagement with our residents is going to be a very big part of what this committee is doing. And I think the bulk of the first year will be doing listening sessions and inviting the public to in person and possibly a virtual session as well, depending on how things shake out. And working with our community to hear their stories and find out what people are more interested in learning about, and then working to schedule educational programs and partnering with other town departments, such as the library perhaps, and other organizations to develop these outreach and engagement opportunities. So we're going to work together to construct that framework of how we want to do that outreach and engagement once this committee comes together. So we'll be doing, there's no preconceived notions about how we want to do this work. The selectmen have been given us a framework to work with, and we will take it from there. So we have a lot of exciting time ahead of us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you, Karen. Good stuff. How about Sean? And you're going to help me with the last name. Is it Sean Haney?
Ganem.
Get him. All right, perfect. Thanks, Sean. And so, Sean, we'll kick it off with, how about Anne-Marie?
Hey, thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Sean, could you give us a little bit of your experience and what you hope to see with this committee?
I am a small business owner in Lowell mostly. I own a couple of businesses in Lowell. Immigrated from Lebanon to Venezuela in the 90s. Lived there for 4 years and immigrated to the U.S. in 94. And been living in Tewksbury for the past 20 years. I experienced a lot of racism against me somewhere, but I also experienced a lot of good also that came from people. So when I heard about the committee, I was hoping to be kind of in the middle where you can facilitate if there's anybody out there that has opinions about it, or opinions about other people from different color or religion or ethnicity, basically to reach out to people and have a conversation about it, which is something that I always think about. I've always, recently mostly, I've seen that we do react to a lot of stuff that happens in our country, and I believe that we have to act before it happens, and that why the reason I was inclined to join.
Thank you so much.
All right, good stuff. How about Ms. Wellman?
Thank you, Mr. Ganem. Can you tell us a little bit about what kind of time availability you may have to give to this committee?
I have time. Like I said, I own my own business. I work, during the daytime until 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I have time in the evening if it's scheduled before ahead of time. That's something that I could arrange. Yeah.
I mean, I think that the plan will be to meet once a month, and we may take off a month. It's in the charge, depending on how we get some busy times of year, and so sometimes it's hard to schedule. But generally, it will be a once a month meeting for this group. So hopefully, we'll be able to make that work. But that sounds great. Thank you. Your evenings are okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Sean, here comes the big curveball question. Are you familiar with open meeting laws?
Yeah, I printed 19 pages of it yesterday, last week, and I've been reading it.
Okay.
It's right in front of me, so I can read it if there's any. And I like to read, so that's something I like to do.
Okay, awesome. Like I said, we'll put you through the training. It's I don't know what it is, 5 to 10 minute video, but all right, good stuff. Sean, how about any questions about the committee or for the board, Sean?
No, honestly, I wasn't able to log in at the beginning, so I just logged in maybe about 10 minutes ago. So I'm going to read at the end of the meeting to see if there's any questions. I would email and ask, of course, if I have any questions about it.
All right, good deal. No, you're good. Very good. Very good responses and good experience here. All right, awesome. All right, if there's nothing else, we're going to move to. I'm looking here. I don't see Josephine for 6:40. So why don't we bump ahead? I do see. Is it Adam Woodstra?
Yes, this is Adam.
Hey, Adam.
How you guys,
All
how
right,
you
I'm
guys
going to
doing?
pass you to. Very, very good, my friend. Well, let's pass you to Miss Anne Marie for the first question.
Okay, sure.
Cool. Oh, Miss Stronach, I think I see a red mic.
I see a red mic.
Oh,
My apologies.
Not anymore.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much for coming tonight, Adam, and for taking
Yeah.
the time and the interest in this committee. It's really exciting to see so many people interested in. Just want to reiterate what the chairman said about we did get a large interest in this committee, but even those people who are not actually selected to be on should still participate because it's going to have a lot of really good work, and it's really exciting to see so many people interested. So with that, Adam, could you please tell me about your experience and what you hope to see from this committee?
Yeah. So the reason I want to serve is I have two school-aged children. I have a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old, and I want to be a role model, teaching them the importance of being part of the community. And my goal is to have a voice within the DEI committee that positively promotes equity, which ensures that everyone has access to the same treatment, opportunities, and advancement. I was talking specifically about equity that aims to identify and eliminate barriers that prevent the full participation of some groups. And my belief is that representation matters. So what experience or traits or backgrounds that would help qualify me is that I was a psych major in college. I worked at a child psychology facility. I was a youth community service member at the YMCA. I worked at Head Start as a family services coordinator. I think having a role like this within the community, my strengths such as empathy, understanding, and real life experiences come into play. I was adopted from Vietnam, and when I was an infant, my adoptive parents are white, and then throughout my life, I experienced prejudice and intolerance based on my national origin and the color of my skin. My wife is Black, and my children are biracial. So growing up, I didn't have a committee like this within my community to help guide and protect me from discrimination. So I want to be part of this committee to make a positive difference in our residents' lives by bringing people together based on what makes us similar while celebrating what makes us different. And regarding the open laws, I just kind of looked it up and it said something about a sunshine law, mentioning that most federal and state government agencies are regulatory bodies that are open to the public along with the decisions and records. And then with the decision-making process, with the consensus-driven committee about seeking to secure the support of the whole group for the decisions at hand. And then finally, regarding my availability, I'll be there, whatever you guys need me to do. I'm here to support the committee, the town, citizenship, everyone, because it's very important to me to have a voice, and where I didn't have a voice growing up. And my kids are important. My daughter is 5; she's about to go into kindergarten, and I want her to see what it's like to be part of the community, especially being biracial. I think it's important for her to see that representation, to see me part of the town and making a positive difference.
Thank you so much. That was very comprehensive. I appreciate that.
Thanks. I know I rambled for a while, but yeah,
No,
I'm
you
very
did not
passionate
ramble
about
at all.
this.
You were actually trying to hit all the points. So I think you saved my colleagues a couple of questions.
Okay.
I know. I know we
great.
might be complete, but I'll ask Miss Wellman anyhow. Miss Wellman, any questions for Adam?
Well, you covered pretty much the standard questions right in the opening, so I appreciate that, and your conciseness and the enthusiasm I hear in your voice that you're bringing, that you're interested in bringing to the table. I saw your resume. Thank you for forwarding that to us.
Sure.
And I was just curious if you have some prodigious corporate experience. I see you work in the channel. And I wondered if you had any experiences in your corporate world that would apply.
Sure. So what I do is it's not glamorous. I do inside sales for a cybersecurity company, and I won't bore you to death. But the point is, when I joined the company, I am part of a diversity and inclusion committee as well. They just started that up. And the funny thing is, they first started off with a cookbook. So everyone's throwing in their cultural history of special recipes that they might have to try and spread knowledge. And then nothing brings people together than more than food, in my opinion. So yeah, definitely that.
I like that. I like that. All right. Thank you very much. And thank you for your time and your interest.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Adam. Any questions, Adam, about the committee or for the board?
I know you guys answered a lot of the questions. I was just kind of looking to see what initiated the creation of this committee and what type of people you're looking for to be part of it.
I'll have to defer to Ms. Wellman.
So thank you. So I first approached the Board of Selectmen last, I think, August, to consider bringing this committee together with thought and deliberation to create a framework that we could work from for a number of reasons, but because of the dialogue that was happening nationally, because of the dialogue that was happening locally following the events of George Floyd last year. There's a lot going on in the world and in our nation and in our community, and there's relevance along all of these areas, and so that I've seen here personally. And we saw a lot of discussion in the community, and so this is an attempt to have positive educational opportunities, to engage the residents, to celebrate our differences, as you said, and to create space in the community to address issues and educational opportunities. So I was a little redundant there in a couple of places, but that's kind of the genesis of it. And a lot of communities have been doing this, and I work in another community that has a similar kind of committee. And so, it was a good time to do this. And the Board of Selectmen had a lot of conversations around this to bring it forward and craft this document that you see on the page in front of you. So that we want to be able to come at this in the right way. And we had a lot of, I think, very productive conversation on the board. So
that's awesome. I was very happy and excited to see this opportunity.
Good. I'm glad. I'm really glad. We've had more interest in this committee than I think I've ever seen in any single committee. So I think that sometimes when there's an opportunity before people to address something that matters to them, people want to be engaged and they're excited about it. So
definitely fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. So again, thank you very much. Super candidates across the board. I think we can drop. I think all the applicants can drop, and I would ask just if the board stays on, and you can certainly feel free to stay on. So Jason, Brian, why don't we take a recess? And if folks come on for the different time slots, we'll start up for the public. Why don't we plan on coming back at 7 o'clock? So it pretty much gives us a 15-minute break. A 15-minute break to see if any other applicants coming on, because I believe we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 applicants that did not show, but it is early and their time slots have not come up. So why don't we reconvene at 7 o'clock? And like I said, if any of the applicants want to stay on, that's fine. And so, Brian, can we just take a recess till 7 o'clock via the TV, the live feed?
We can do that, Mr. Chairman. Would you like me to cut the live feed or just leave the meeting up and running until 7 p.m.?
Whatever's easier. I would probably say cut the live feed and we can reestablish it. But whatever you typically do, that's
Mr.
fine.
Chairman?
Yes, Ms. Stronach.
Thank you so much. I'm just wondering if we do have some people who jump on because of a time slot or because they were running late, as somebody like me who always is running a few minutes late. If we cut the live feed, they might think that they not. So if we could just leave it on, and I'll keep it on in the background. And if anybody jumps on, I'll just tell them that we took a little recess. I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to stay. Yeah, I'm going to stay on as well. So the select board can stay on here, and like I said, the applicants can certainly drop. I thank them for their time.
Yep. Appreciate that.
So Brian, maybe just keep the live feed and just let's maybe
Just mute.
mute the microphones, please.
Sure thing, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, perfect. Hey, Ian, thanks for jumping on.
sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. We're going to get started about 7 o'clock. So 10 more minutes, we'll jump in. Hey, Josephine, thanks for jumping on. We're going to get started or restart at 7 o'clock. So you guys are fine.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And Josephine?
Hi.
Hi, we're gonna just to let you know, we're gonna get started here at 7 o'clock. Just about 8 minutes here, just to kind of resume our interviews. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll
Talk
be
to you
on
in a bit.
standby. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Yep. Hey, Aaron, thanks for jumping on.
Sorry. They recommended jumping on a little early. If I'm too early, I'm happy to jump out.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. Matter of fact, we just conducted a bunch of interviews, so we're just gonna resume at 7 o'clock. So you're perfect. You're good to go. So at 7 o'clock, we'll actually have you kick things off. So you're good. So we'll just start in a little bit here.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, I think we've reached the top of the hour, 7 o'clock. Do we have all the board members present?
I'm here, Mr. Chairman.
Estronic, okay,
I am as well. Thank you, Mr.
perfect. I know Mr. Mackey's with us as
Yes.
well. Okay, perfect. Okay, and why don't we get started here? And Brian, we good to go? Are we on the live feed?
We are good to go, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, very good. So we can, just for the folks that jumped on here, looking at Josephine, Aaron, and Ann, we conducted a series of interviews for the Tewksbury Diversity, Equality, and Inclusion Advisory Committee. So just, I guess, the level set where we typically we're going to ask 3 questions. One has to do with just give us a brief example of your experience that would benefit the committee. Number 2, are you familiar with the open meeting laws? And number 3 is, do you have the time to serve? And again, we'll cover that a little bit deeper through the questions. And we started off the meeting as well as if we have 16 applicants and we're looking for 6 residents. So again, just a disclaimer to all that if you happen, if you're not chosen for this committee, we strongly encourage you still part of this committee. You don't need to be on the board of the committee to have a voice on any of our boards and committees in town. So I think I covered everything, and my board can keep me honest. Did I cover everything?
I think so, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. So, Josephine, why don't we start? Why don't we start with you? So what I'll do is let's turn it over to Ms. Wellman for the first question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first question is, can you tell us a little bit about your background and what you're hoping to get out of the experience of working with the committee?
Sure, great. Hi, everyone. My name is Josephine Haney. I've been living here in Tewksbury for about 10 plus years. My career has been in human resources for over 20 years. So I've been involved in employee relations and rolling out corporate programs that touch on this topic of diversity. So it's kind of been a topic with me throughout my entire career. And it's also something that I'm passionate about. So I thought it was an interesting combination of combining something that I'm very interested in with, the town that I live in.
Okay, great. Are there any particular areas of interest for the DEI committee that you would be interested in seeing come forward?
I think there's a lot of knowledge that I don't know yet. I'm curious to know, are there current pain points? It's kind of like taking a step back because it's a lot. It's a big topic. So I think it's always best to approach it in baby steps to make it successful. So I think it's, understanding, what are the current needs? What do we want to focus on? I believe that it's very good to get connected with the schools if we're talking about trying to implement change for now and the future, starting with our children and getting them in the right mindset. If we're talking about adults, taking into account like adult learning theory, it's got to be relevant to what's going on in their lives. So, I highly recommend doing what's called like drip theory, like bits and pieces, having a 4-hour session in some topic, is really not going to attract attention. So just, understanding the diversity stats, or if there are any stats of the town, to know what to focus on. I mean, there's just a lot of unknown data that I have. So I'm just very curious to know, what are the concerns, and then from then decide what to focus on and kind of put a game plan in place, because you can't tackle everything at the same time.
Great, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, perfect. How about Ms. Stronach?
Thank you so much. I guess, first of all, thank you for participating, and thank you for giving us your time tonight. I was wondering if you had any time constraints to serve on this committee that we should take into consideration.
My assumption is that the commitment would be, after after work hours during the weekdays and possibly doing things on the weekends. So, that would be, something that I'm available to do. Obviously can't do it every day. But, if we're talking about a meeting a week or every 2 weeks and then, being part of events, that sounds like that's doable.
Great. Thank you so much. That's very helpful. I believe that typically our groups meet once a month.
Yep.
And then events would be, and then if there's a busy time, you might meet more often. And then you might have some homework sometimes.
Understood. Makes sense.
Perfect. Yeah, Josephine, last but not least, how about our open meeting laws? Are you familiar with open meeting laws as it applies to like boards and committees in Massachusetts?
I haven't been exposed to that. I haven't personally been in it. I mean, I've attended some as a resident, so I get an idea of what goes on, and I understand the concept of being open, being myself in HR and your whole town hall meetings for your employees, and you're talking about out in the open. And I get there's a certain a process to follow. As I can hear you guys speaking, chairman and taking turns. So I mean, I think that's an etiquette that could be learned with no problem. So that's my understanding.
Yeah, perfect. And that's exactly what we kind of told the other applicants. We have training here within town, 5 to 10 minutes trainings, but it's all about having a quorum and really, socializing in a public forum through an agenda, not taking votes on social media. That's, again, just to give you the gist of it. But like I said, I'm sure any of you all, the applicants, can pick it up in no time flat, but we do ask the question because it's a very important one for any board or committee. That's all. Okay. All right. How about Josephine? Any questions? About the committee for the board before we conclude?
I took a look at your website and I get idea of a mission statement. Is my understanding that this is a brand new advisory board, or has it been going on and now it's just like a rotating period of switching out the members?
No, good question. No, brand new. Was brought to the forefront by Ms. Wellman, and she's going to represent the board of the select board on this particular committee. But brand new, kind of a blank canvas, and we give you the mission statement, and we're all hoping you all go from there. So yeah, brand new. And what we're doing, just for housekeeping, is we're interviewing 10 folks today. We're going to conclude the interviews on June 8th, and then what we'll do is the select board gets together and we'll discuss the candidates, the pros and the cons, and then we'll reach out to the applicants. Good, bad, or indifferent. So that's kind of just that's the game plan. That's all.
Gotcha. And was there a trigger event that triggered putting this into place now versus in the past or in the future, or what brought upon the interest of putting this together now?
Well, Ms. Wellman, want to fill that one?
Yeah, no, we've had a couple of questions like this. Briefly, it was something that I think its time has come in Tewksbury. We started looking at this at the end in August of last year, and starting to work on that discussion and how we want to bring it forward. And part of that was sort of the climate nationally and in the state and also locally that I was aware of. I know that others were aware of. And so I wouldn't say there's any one particular thing, but certainly the conversations that we've had regarding the Black Lives Matter movement, other issues in the LGBTQ community, issues with anti-Semitism, not just in Tewksbury, but around the state and around the country. So these are some of the things that we've seen come forward, and it seemed like this was a time to bring a committee like this forward to work on educational opportunities, community engagement, and so forth.
Great.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Josephine. Very good. Okay. How about let's turn to Erin Kelly. So why don't we kick it off with Ms. Wellman?
Hi, thank you so much for joining us tonight, Ms. Kelly. I want to thank you for your time and your interest. If you could just give us a little sense of your background and talk to us about what you're doing professionally and so forth, but then also tell us what you're interested in seeing in the work of the committee, what you'd like to do there. Thank you.
And thank you all so much for your time today. I appreciate it. So brief history of my background. I was so excited to see this because both my educational and professional backgrounds have really focused in the areas of diversity, equity, and inclusion. My master's and doctoral programs both were focused on social justice, specifically through an education lens. I work in higher education at a local university, and I've been there for 14 years. And during that time, I've been on various committees where we've focused on racial justice. Most recently, I had a position where I was responsible for handling all issues of gender-based discrimination, as well as supported our LGBTQ plus committee, and have received professional awards for that. And that was all really important to me. And so it's just been a professional area that I've focused on for the last decade plus, and through my education. So those have been wonderful and rewarding opportunities, and I feel very connected to my work community, but I also feel very connected to the Tewksbury community. I've been a Tewksbury resident for about 10 years. I'm raising 2 kids in Tewksbury, 2 children of color. And it's really for them. I mean, I believe in public service and supporting and being civically engaged for certain. But my kids in particular are having a wonderful time living in Tewksbury. But there have been some issues. Recently a girl told my daughter that, at first she didn't want to be friends with her because of her skin color. And this was in 2018. And so I think there's some room to grow. And like Ms. Haney said, working with the schools would certainly be a great opportunity. But I think, I'd love to see the committee maybe look at some of the data with the diversity, equity, and inclusion lens related to the community, whether it's health data, or businesses, where contracts are going. And I think there's just a lot of great opportunities, and I think it can really help shape the future of Tewksbury. And it's a community that my husband and I are very committed to living in and serving.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Very comprehensive answer. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, good stuff. How about Ms. Stronach?
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for that answer, and thank you for taking the time, Erin. Can you tell me, what is the time availability that you would have for this committee?
So it sounds great based on the last Q&A. I can certainly commit to a meeting a month. Events, nights and weekends are pretty open for me, especially after work hours.
Terrific. Thank you so much.
Yes.
All right, Erin, here comes the tough one. Are you familiar with open meeting laws?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've attended school committee, attended or viewed school committee meetings. I've attended town meeting, and then I've not worked as an election worker at town meeting, but I also am an election worker for Tewksbury too. So I've gotten to know more about our open meetings and town meetings.
Okay, perfect. And I might, I know it's the last question just because, we repeat the questions, and that's fine. Like I said, we play no tricks or no games here. But I just emphasize kind of how important that is. That's why we pepper it in. Someone's like, how come you asked that question? Because it's so relevant in today's day and age with all our boards. It doesn't matter what board or what committee you're on. It's just very important always to have a quorum and do the right things, in the meeting and not outside of the meeting. So, okay, and like I said, they're very easy training, 5 to 10 minutes that we hook everyone up with. So I know it won't be a problem for any of the applicants, but we do make put notice on that. That's all. But how about Erin? Any questions for the boards or about this committee in general?
I would just be interested if any. I know the last candidate asked, the impetus for starting the committee, but I'd just love to hear if anybody has one vision or one goal for something that they hope that the committee can achieve in the next, maybe not immediately, but even in the next year or two.
Yeah, I noticed I'll defer to Ms. Wellman.
Jump in on that as well.
Now coughing unbelievably. Okay. Excuse me. I think the first year goal will be to focus on, like you said, and like Ms. Haney said, actually, understanding what the work needs to be. So engaging with the community, hearing from residents, hearing from businesses, finding out what people want to know more about, and then tailoring that appropriately with programming over time. So we can go broad or we can go deep, making those decisions. And as you said, looking to gather data around what we know, what we think we know, and starting the work there. So we're going to be building this from the ground up. And it's important for us to have members who've kind of done some of this work before, and in different venues, and have different kinds of experience. So we have 16 excellent candidates. So we're really very, very, very lucky in this regard. So that's what we're kind of trying to do with these interviews. But I think that the first year is going to be kind of understanding the issues and how we want to bring forward engagement and educational programs, and celebrate what are the things we want to really talk about and enjoy. And I've heard a number of great ideas. So I think it's going to be a really collaborative, community-wide effort. And I don't want to put any expectations there right now, but this is where we're going so far. That help?
Great. That's wonderful. And thank you for bringing this forward. And again, thank you all for your time. I'm excited, even if not selected for the committee, to hopefully be involved or attend events either way. So thank you all. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great job. Very good. Okay, just looking at the next candidate here. I think we might have a couple to go. All right, I see Ann. All right, Ann, thanks for joining us. And why don't we kick it off with Ms. Stronach?
Thank you. Ann, thank you for joining us today. And if you could give us a little bit of your experience and what you hope to bring to this committee as well, that would be fantastic. And thank you for your time.
So I have a mom, a nurse, out of the schools. But diversity, equity, and inclusion is really something I strive for every day within all of those. Family is transracial and multicultural. That I have 2 Black children. I have a white child. Multiple cultures in our family. Enjoy celebrating all of them. On the autism spectrum, close loved ones, different neighbors, coaching, very special ed advisory of the school community. So very much advocating for children with special needs, special needs, and also, standing up with something. On the cultural committee at the Ryan School. And, I was able to secure an awesome author to present virtually to our 5th and 6th graders this year. The diversity, equity, and inclusion every day, with the school system or anywhere else. I believe in listening to those who are personally and being empathetic and supportive to them. Just kind of looking at things in the frame of, how can this be improved? How can this be accessible to others?
Great. Thank you so much. And I know that you gave us a lot of information about your experience. What do you hope to get out of this committee? Like, I know others have expressed what they're looking to participate in.
The mission of the committee is to educate, advocate, and celebrate. So I'm interested in all of the above. I mean, I have learned so much through family and special ed pack. To learn things, to love to teach, what I've learned. Also excited to celebrate, some things like maybe a Martin Luther King Day or some other kind of celebration.
Thank you so much. That was great, Ann. I appreciate that.
All right, perfect. How about Ms. Wellman? Do we have Ms. Wellman?
I think that the feed
Jane,
cut
you're
in
on
a little bit.
I'm muted. I'm muted. Sorry about that. So, and thank you so much for your time tonight and your interest in the group. I was hoping you'd talk a little bit more about the time that you might have available to give to this committee, and with the information that we anticipate right now, meeting about once monthly plus activities or special events as they come.
The only real schedule thing I have is every third Thursday month. I have my special ed PAC meeting.
Okay.
On the third Thursday of each month.
Okay. All right. Great.
All right, very good. And Ann, last but not least, are you familiar with the open meeting laws of Massachusetts?
Yeah, so I've been the co-chair of the special ed PAC the last 4 years, and we do follow open meeting laws.
Okay, very good. Okay, perfect. So that was a slam dunk. All right, very good. Ann, how about on your side before we conclude? Any questions about the committee or for the board?
I don't think I have any questions. I think I'd just like to say that I'm really excited, and I appreciate the opportunity to interview for the committee. Thank you for being open to having a committee like this in our town. Whether or not I'm chosen, I'm obviously looking forward to participating. So.
And Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to give a shout out to thank her for organizing the successful and peaceful, as you said in your application, Black Lives Matter gathering on the Tewksbury Common last summer. I did attend that, and it was very well done. So thank you.
All right, very good. All right, I'm looking at the applicant list, and I believe, why don't we go with, is it Peg Ricardo?
Yes, Peg Ricardo here.
Okay, Peg. Okay, perfect. All right, why don't we get started again? Three questions we'll go through, and we'll see if you have any questions. So why don't we kick it off with Ms. Wellman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your participation and your interest in this new committee. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, your professional or personal background that may make you a good candidate for this committee, and what you're hoping to work on or see happen with this committee?
So thank you for even putting this committee together. I think our town needs it. My particular area of interest would be around disability and making sure that our town is more accessible to individuals with disabilities, not just physical, but also intellectual disabilities. We have a few group homes here in Tewksbury, and we also have some elderly disabled individuals living in our housing over on Livingston Street. And this past year has been challenging for everybody. In particular, I think that it really drove home how isolating it can be, especially when we were talking last spring. I would say that our neighbors with disabilities feel that way all the time. So that isolation is something that they experience, especially, I think when we're talking about our special education students, but in particular, our adults with disabilities. And I think there is some work to do to make sure that our town is more accessible. Even just being able to participate in meetings like this through Zoom or Webex has been life-changing for so many folks. It'd be nice for that to continue. So that really was my driving interest in this committee. Professionally, I work for the Family Support Center on the North Shore. I service individuals with disabilities across the lifespan. Originally, I serviced the greater Lowell area, and recently I had transferred to a different agency on the North Shore. So I spend my day helping individuals find resources in their community, whether it's rec or social or therapy, or just helping them access opportunities and their community as a whole.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I appreciate all that background. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Very good. How about Ms. Stronach?
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you so much for coming and participating in this, Margaret. And I'm very interested in the work that you do with disability individuals, so thank you for that as well. Could you tell me, does that work? Is that a 9 to 5 job, or does that impact the evenings for you? And would you be able to have time in this work, to do this work?
Yes, I mean, this work is a priority. It's, not only is it my professional life, but I live it. I have a child with a disability. So I work part-time. Most of it is work from home, and evenings can work. I do also serve on the board of the special education PAC here in town. And I think my only standing commitment during the school year would be the third Thursday of the month is when we typically have our meetings. Very flexible schedule.
Great. Thank you so much for that.
All right, Peg, they leave me for the hard one. Are you familiar with open meeting laws, Peg, Massachusetts open meeting laws?
Yes, I am. I've served on the CPAC committee, which is a subcommittee of the school committee, and we have to follow open meeting law for the past 4 years.
You got it. Perfect. All right, cool. All right, before we conclude, any questions about the committee or for the board?
No, I don't have any questions. I look forward to the work that's going to happen here. And I think like Anne had said before me, whether chosen or not, I do look forward to being involved because this is important work. And I'm very excited that we took this step in town here.
Well, I'll just say a few words and I'll just pass it to my colleagues. I am quite impressed. I am quite impressed with all the applicants. I mean, just amazing. And just for the residents too, we see the applicants, what they put on, like we don't call it a resume, but some do attach their resumes. And even with these questions, this is going to be tough. This is unbelievable, just tremendous. And I can tell by the passion, or the passion of almost every applicant here that you want to make a difference, through this committee, and that's wonderful. So, any closing words on your side, Ms. Wellman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with you. I'm really so excited that we have so many candidates that want to participate and want to be on this committee and do this work. And there's a diversity of backgrounds and educational, professional, and personal backgrounds to bring to the table that we're very wealthy in this regard. And it's going to be really hard to choose folks, but I'm really excited that folks are saying, even if I'm not chosen, I'm going to be involved because we want everybody coming to the table on this. It's just really encouraging. I'm super excited. Thank you.
Awesome. How about Ms. Stronach? Any closing comments?
I would have to echo the comments without belaboring the fact, but I guess the one thing that excites me is similar to what Jane just mentioned about people saying that even if they're not selected, they're going to become involved because Jane alluded to it. But the one thing that I would like to see out of this committee is a community conversation in that first year and getting as many voices. And if this little snippet of our toe dipping into the water, getting the candidates, is any indication, I think that Tewksbury is well positioned and ready for this kind of work. So it's very exciting to me. And I'd just like to thank everybody for their time tonight.
Yeah, that's well said. I always say you don't need a title to be a leader, and I think we have we have leaders from end to end, that went through the process. And again, I always remind the residents it's all volunteer work, and what's better, that's beautiful stuff. So, all right, well, to the candidates again, we're going to have our next conclude our interviews. We'll have 6 or 7 more interviews on June 8th, and then we'll have a kind of internal discussion on the board, and then we'll reach out to all the applicants involved. So that's kind of like the next steps for the process. So, again, I want to thank you very much for your time this evening, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay. And just for the board, we'll stay on here, and we just have one believe it's one more order of business. All right. Can we have all the board members? I see Mr. Mackey. And again, just for housekeeping, Mr. Johnson, we still think he may join, but we'll see. We might be concluded by that time. So, Brian, we'll move to the residence section. I don't see any do we have any residents, Brian?
We have no callers at the moment, Mr. Chairman.
All right, well, we'll keep it open for 30 seconds or a minute here like we always do. So why don't we jump right down to new business? And the big thing is returning in-person meetings. I know we had some conversation last week in lieu of everything being rescinded now that we can come back in to town hall. So, Mr. Montori, I know you're going to do some homework, Mr. Montori, to see what we can do as far as getting back together, potentially a hybrid model. So I'll just pass it to you, Mr. Montori, and just update the board.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I provided the board with a draft plan to resume in-person meetings, and it's pretty straightforward. We would get back to normal in our approach to our public meetings and our settings where we held our public meetings. We would go back to televising the committees that historically were televised and not televised the committees that were never on cable access. The committees that would be televised would be the Selectmen, School Committee, Board of Health, Zoning Board of Appeals, Conservation Commission, and Planning Board. And in addition to televising those committees, we started looking at maintaining some type of a virtual component for residents who cannot attend, just to see how that would go. Meeting with Brian Dorrington from Telemedia, Assistant Town Manager Steve Sadwick, the Town Clerk Denise Graffio, to look at different options. And today we tested Webex, using Webex as a way for individuals who are not comfortable coming to the meetings to call into the meeting using the Webex phone number. We would use the main hall with a TV screen that's been installed to view the Webex, the meeting on Webex. The board would meet live in the town. The boards would meet live in the town hall, main hall. And we would see how that goes. So, that's an option for the board to consider. We may not need to do it all of the time for all of the boards. The Selectmen do have a portion of their meeting that's open to the residents, so the board would need to have that option. The Planning Board, Zoning Board, and Conservation usually have public hearings, so they would probably need it. Board of Health doesn't always have public hearings, so if they don't have a public hearing, they may not need to use the virtual component, and then the school committee the same way. The reason why we want to try to minimize the use of the virtual component is because it does take 2 telemedia staff to work it. Someone's got to continue to work the camera, and someone has to work the WebEx portion to screen the callers and handle the callers. So, that's what we came up with for an option for the board to consider. I would suggest one other item for the board to consider, and that would be to send the draft plan out to all of the committees, chairmans, and have them review it. And they should really decide what they would like to do for their committee. I'm not sure the board or myself or anybody has the jurisdiction over them to tell them what to do, but I would get this out to them to review and comment. They may have a different feeling on the approach we're taking. So other than the virtual component for those committees that have historically been televised, the rest would be business as usual, the way we conducted our public meetings. We would like the locations to be the main hall at Town Hall or the small meeting room on the first floor. And there is a room on the basement, on the ground floor of the Town Hall that's used for meetings. We would like committees not to use that because it really is a small congested room. So scheduling for the town hall would go through the manager's office, and those two rooms would be the rooms we would use. The high school auditorium and high school LG1 meeting room is also available to be used. The high school gymnasium, if we have a large crowd that we want to make sure we have enough space for, could always be used. The senior center is available to be used during the daytime for meetings, and under certain circumstances can be used at night. And then the public library meeting room is available for people who want to use that room for meetings. If you want to use the library, there's an online form that gets filled out that goes to the director. And if you'd like to use the senior center, the senior center director, Jan Knoll, is who you would contact. And then anything for the school buildings would go through the school administration office. We'll still ensure that there's hand sanitizer at all of our meetings. We'll make sure that masks are available for anybody that's uncomfortable and wants to wear a mask. Disinfecting wipes in each of the meeting rooms. We'll make sure rooms are sanitized after all the meetings. We would encourage anybody that's not vaccinated to ensure that they wear a mask or maintain social distancing. And then we'd like to, if everything's ready to go, start having public meetings on the 15th. So that's really what the plan outlines, and it's open to, for board to decide and discuss what they'd like to do.
All right, let's just I'll just take a roll call just because it's the virtual meeting. Mr. Mack, any questions for Mr. Montori? Just open up to the board for questions.
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Mackey. How about Ms. Wellman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that the managers put together a really good plan with the staff. I've talked to them a couple of times about it. There's a lot happening at the state level, and I think that this plan takes that into account and leaves us in compliance and open to what changes may be required down the road, but gives us an opportunity also to test it and see if it's actually in demand. And then I think his suggestion to bring it to the different boards is wise, and give those boards a chance to talk about how they want their meetings to be. And I do think that having the virtual component as well as in person, folks can come and participate in person if they wish, but having the virtual component, particularly for those particular meetings he mentioned, I think it makes it accessible and it's inclusive. And as we heard one candidate a few minutes ago say, it's helped a lot for a number of people in our community. So to have that virtual meeting component. So I thank the manager and all his staff, Mr. Dorrington, we were really involved in this for their work on this. And I look forward to see how we can make it happen and see how we go. And I look forward to meeting in person. Thank you.
Good deal. Good deal. Thanks for so. How about Ms. Stronach?
I am not going to repeat everything that Ms. Wellman said. I do appreciate that we're going to be sending this out to the other chairs so that we can have their input before we do anything concrete. So, and I certainly appreciate the telemedia department's work on this and their willingness to continue with the good work, even though it strains their workload. So I just have to give them a giant shout out, along with the town manager and the rest of his departments that have been working so hard on all of this. And I have no questions. And somebody should write that down because I think that's a record.
All right. Well, I'm good on my side. I'm looking forward to getting back. It seems like Mr. Montori and all involved is, trying to do the right thing. And listen, it might take us 1 or 2 or 3 meetings to get it right. It probably took us 10 of these done Webex and Zooms to get it right. And I think we dialed it in pretty good here. So it's going to take some time. We'll get there. So I'm not overly concerned either way. So good stuff. Mr. Montori, I don't think we need to take a vote. Would you be as kind to send this across to the chairs?
Sure.
The chairman and chairwoman?
Sure. So what I'll do is I'll send this out tomorrow to all the chairs of the committees that are televised, just because they'll be the ones to determine if they want to have the virtual component. I'll ask for their feedback within the next week. let the board know what I find out. Meetings probably will start the week of the 15th with the virtual component just to get them going, and then we can adjust from there based on what the committee chairman want to do. And we'll see how it goes. So we'll see what type of feedback and how useful the virtual component is to the meetings. The one thing I'd ask the board maybe to think about, and we just discussed it today, was moving up the residence section to the beginning of the meeting, only because it would allow the staff maybe to handle that part of the meeting from a virtual standpoint. And then once we get away from any call-ins, they could, go home and then get down to one person. So we'll talk to all the other chairman about that too. So it's just something to think about. We just talked about it today.
Okay. I do feel a little bit bad in the fact that some of the other committees that, weren't on, let's call it TV, on YouTube. I know a lot of us got to see the other boards and committees in action. So, I don't know, Mr. Montour, we can talk about options, but there may be a meeting or two, within that calendar year that a committee might want to, need a virtual meeting. So let's entertain those, as they come in, but I would hate to see it just, I want to give those other boards and committees the opportunity to be on, the YouTubes as well, because that was good stuff. So,
yeah, on that point, Mr. Chairman, that's an excellent point. We did discuss that, and in the original draft of the plan, we talked about leaving it up to a chairman of the committee to, talk about if they had a meeting they would like to have a virtual component. And then Brian Dorrington came up with an idea, maybe we could set up the small meeting room to allow for committees to have a virtual meeting on Webex, but they could run it themselves. Would make it pretty easy to do. So we're looking at setting up the small meeting room with a TV, with a computer, and the ability for maybe one of the smaller committees, if they want to, not all the time, for a particular meeting, to have the ability to run their own Webex meeting. But it's going to take us a little bit of time to get that set up. But that's something we're moving towards, regardless of which committees want to be on Webex, or if any want to be on Webex, because we don't know if the law is going to change or the state's going to change and want all of us to be on Webex at some point. So we're preparing as if the world's going to change and we're going to have to do it. And it's there as an option for those committees, Mr. Chairman, as you mentioned, that may want to have a meeting or two on Webex.
Excellent. Yeah, especially if they have a big upcoming event that they're putting together. So, all right, perfect. At least we're considering it, and it's not off the table. All right, that's all we can ask. Perfect. Was there another comment or a question from the board? Okay. All right, seeing none, thank you, Mr. Montori. I think that pretty much concludes this meeting. I don't think does anyone else have any? I'll pause. Does anyone else have any new business they would like to discuss at this time?
Mr. Chairman?
Please.
I would just like to say that we just came off of honoring our veterans for the Memorial Day, and the director of our Veterans Affairs and the Patriotic Activities Committee did a wonderful job pulling together, because of the changes in COVID, very quickly, an event yesterday in our community that was very well done and really honored the people that live in and have served in our community. So I just want to thank everyone for their work on that.
Great shadow. Great shadow. Okay, I'm just trying to look. I think we bounced back here relatively quickly. I think we have 3 meetings in June. We're going to meet on the 8th for interviews, and we also have a select board meeting on the 15th. So if there's nothing else, I look for a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to thank you. I just wanted to say 2 things. One, this is June 1st, and so it's the beginning of Pride Month. And I wanted to thank the library. They have 3 events scheduled so far for the middle of the month. I recommend that folks check out the library website. They have a teen social justice group that's meeting. They have a panel with Speak Out Boston that will be virtual on Zoom. Actually, all these events will be on Zoom. And then they also have another event called Why Are LGBTQ Historical Figures Missing from Our School Curriculums? And that's going to be on Zoom June 24th. So I thank the library for their efforts in this regard, and I look forward to more events that will be coming up to celebrate Pride. I also wanted to note that the library community cookbook launched this afternoon, and so that's out, and folks can order that. And then finally, I want to say congratulations to my daughter, who will be graduating before our next meeting from TMHS, and congratulations to all our new graduates from the high school, from Shawsheen Technical School, from Essex Tech and Innovation Academy, and all the other private schools we have in our area. I know there are a lot of families celebrating what's been a really, really long year. And I want to thank our school department and our school committee, and particularly Principal John Bernard at the high school, who's done an excellent job the whole year, making this come together very well at the end for our seniors, and have just been under tremendous pressure like everybody else. So thank you very much. That is all, and I make a motion to adjourn.
Well, I'll just pause for 1 second. Mr. Stronach, Mr. Mack, anything to add?
Nothing to add, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. All right, then I'll entertain that motion. So I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Yeah, I think this is our only roll call vote of the night. How lucky were we? So, Ms. Wellman, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Stronach?
Aye.
Mr. Mackey?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.